Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Good magical Monday. I hope that you guys are doing well. Welcome to my new podcast. It's terrific to have everybody here. I'm just going to pin us live in the group to make sure everybody can find us okay. And then I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about magic and marketing. If you are here, let me know. Say hi. Okay. Everything looks good on my end. Hey Kay, good to see you. Yeah. I hope that you guys are doing well. I'm just going to talk maybe a little bit briefly about who I am, what we're doing here, and what this podcast is all going to be about. Because this is a new project that I've been undertaking as of this year. I've had podcasts in the past, but I have never really treated it like a podcast. So I'm really excited to start coming in here on Mondays with you guys and talking about magic and marketing because I remember, why did I even decide to do this? Well, w- back in, I started my business, let's see, it was 2011, 2012. Okay. So it was quite some time ago for me. And hi, good to see you. And I remember I was thinking back to the early days for me about what really actually like motivated me, what actually added value to my day from other business coaches, right? So it's all about like how how could I inspire you guys? And I remember that one of the things that really stood out for me in the beginning was being able to connect with other business peers and connect with other people in our industry and do it in a really high vibe way to where I was getting like supercharged for my week because when you work from home and this is something that you do, as a full-time career, as a part-time career, it can feel very isolating. And I think a lot of us, especially back pre-COVID, right? Back when this was kind of like a thing that was kind of difficult to start up. Now it wasn't really normalized, right? It wasn't normalized. Working from home, especially working from home as a psychic or a life coach, it wasn't normalized at all. So, back in 2011 when I did this, it was really like pioneering. But now since COVID, it's become a little bit more normalized. And now that it has become a little bit more normalized, there's more and more people that are, every day there's new baby psychics and new baby tarot readers coming up. So I was thinking back to, and there's people that are retiring out of it. So, it's not like it's not like there's an overflow of people in our industry. It's just that we kind of go through this process, right? Like there's the long-term process, right? You start out as a tarot reader or a psychic reader, or maybe you're doing Reiki or something like that. And then you start teaching, and then you start getting into spiritual life coaching, and then you kind of vibrate out of that, and then you get into more like setting up your own academy and things like that where you're not really working one-on-one with people anymore, right? So there's space in all of these levels of business for everybody. And so that's why I never get concerned when new psychics are, joining us all the time, or people setting up Etsy shops selling psychic readings and things like that. Because what people don't really understand is there's like a long-term process to this, and there's different parts of your business that you're going to um, be in and that you're going to take up space in, especially in an online space. And then, while you're building up your credibility and things of that nature, and then you're going to move on to the next level. But anyway, so I was thinking, what would used to be really inspiring to me would be to join other people's live streams, especially if they did one once a week, and maybe just talking about business more from like a philosophy, theoretical standpoint, but also talking about the metaphysics of business and the energy of business as well. I think we really need both of those things. And I think that something that has kind of happened um, since COVID, I think the best thing that has come out of COVID is that we've been really challenging this idea of the 40-hour work week, right? And realizing that it's really unsustainable. And I feel like also that the industry, not our industry, but just like industry in general, corporate based industry has gaslit us for probably the last 100 years about, this need to work a 40-hour work week. You have to be away from the home. And for a lot of people, that also involves a commute, driving to and from work. And that could be up to 2, 3 hours a day if you live in a very high traffic area. And then, in addition to that, working 8 to 9 hours. And then, this corporate culture of taking all the overtime that you can and really dedicating yourself to a company and things like that. And I think that for a lot of us, that has been challenged. And I think that we've been gaslit over the past century to do that. Because why? Because it serves the corporations, right? I mean, in life, you're either living your dreams and making yourself rich, or you're living out someone else's dream and making them rich, right? So, kind of have to figure out who you want to be in that scenario. And a lot of us pre going into working from home and following our spiritual life path and uh, discovering what our actual life purpose is, which is to help other people. A lot of us identify as, being a light worker, trying to put good out into the universe and trying to fix things that might be broken. And if we can't fix things, at least making the experience a little bit more tolerable and pleasurable for everybody involved, right? And it's interesting when we shift out of that, when we start shifting into working in this industry as a full-time gig. And even though I say full-time, I don't really mean 40 hours a week. What I mean is full income. So the idea of, like, saying, I do this full time, is kind of misleading. I don't do this full time. And in fact, now I work about between 3 to 5 hours a week, and that's fantastic for me. And I've been able to maintain my income and even grow my income. And I'm always trying to strategize how to work less and still make more money. And so that is, I think, what really separates me out from a lot of other business coaches out there. And a lot of that is because, if you don't know, I am a person who deals with chronic illness. So I have an autoimmune endocrine disorder. I'm also self-diagnosed as someone who is highly sensitive, possibly autistic. And then I also have things like, mental illnesses and things like that in my family that I've dealt with. So this whole idea of working 40 hours a week or going to a job has actually never made sense for me. I just don't have it physically in me. And I think that I tried to do it for a really long time, and I made myself very, very, very sick. And a lot of my health issues got exponentially worse when I was trying to fit into that mold. And so today, I really want to talk about how to find your own unique rhythm. And I want to also use this platform in this moment to validate you if you've been feeling gaslit because you're working 6, 8, 10 hours a day, or you're working 5, 6 days a week, or maybe you are at a point where you can't take any time off. And I want to validate you. And I want to say, I know where you're at, and I know the difficulty in that. And I know you're tired. I know you're burnt out. And you're probably also not seeing your bank account grow. You're probably just making enough to really pay your bills. And that's not why you really got into this kind of job. Yeah, you got into it because, pre-COVID, yeah, because you could work at home, you could homeschool your kids, you could choose your own schedule. But frankly, there's been a complete 180 in the world lately. And so that's really not even enough of a reason to even want to pursue this as a job anymore, because there are plenty of work from home, choose your own schedule, part time gigs out there that you can work in customer service. And you could work a much more boring, a much more mundane job and stress a lot less, right? So it has to be something more than that. It has to be something more than, um, just, having a more convenient lifestyle. And it has to do with being able to respect your own internal rhythm, your own energetic needs. So I identify as someone who is neurodivergent. I identify as someone who is chronically ill. And I identify as someone who has all of these things in my life that take up a precedence. It's the elephant in the room, right? It's always there, it's always in the corner. It's always a possibility that I might have to take some time off work because, just back in September, right before we did the Psychic Business Success Summit, I had a major flare and I was down in bed for almost 2 weeks. And I had, not to give you too much information, but basically when I go into a flare, it's like all of my joints hurt, all of my past injuries hurt, anywhere I have scar tissue, anywhere I've had surgery, it all gets really inflamed and it gets angry and irritated. And sometimes I can't even walk. So all that to say is that's what I deal with, but maybe you have children and that takes up a big precedence of your life. It takes up a big part of your life pie chart. Maybe you are dealing with chronic illness and you have kids, and maybe you're even taking care of elderly parents, or and maybe you have all of these things, right? Maybe you're divorced, maybe you are a single parent, things of that nature. So no matter whether you identify as being someone who has these things that I deal with, we all have things that we deal with, right? And we all have things that take up a precedence in our life, and we are so used to being gaslit by the corporate industry to sacrifice, 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 become a martyr, right? And I think we carry that mindset. I know for me that mindset really didn't clear up until about 4 to 5 years in for me, because there's like this period of deprogramming that we kind of have to put ourselves through. And there's other people like me out there, light workers like me out there, business coaches like me out there, who are trying to lead the charge and pioneering in this direction, because trying to do it on your own is incredibly, incredibly difficult. There's no handbook. There's no handbook for this, right? So there's no handbook for deprogramming. Well, maybe there is now. Maybe if you go on Amazon, maybe there is now a program for that. Okay. So a program for that. So we get to this point where in the beginning we're working on Etsy, we're working on the psychic hotlines, we're trying to market our own business, and we're doing all of these things. And if you aren't in my academy, then probably you're doing a whole bunch of things that you probably don't need to be doing. And so that's part of the problem as well. So there's a major problem when you're first starting your business. And sometimes it feels impossible and it feels like it's never going to happen. And the reason why, it's because we're fighting against so much cultural and societal expectations and things that have what we call really like ancestral karma and ancestral trauma, right? Things that have been passed down to us, that our beliefs, our mindsets are made out of this, and our worldview and how we look at things. And it's really interesting because none of it's real. It's all just a concept. It's all just a concept created by people in the powers that be in order to, run the world that it is right now. So not only are we dealing with this unrealistic expectation that I have to work 5 days a week, or that I have to suffer, or that I have to work on my days off, or that I have to miss the events with my children, or I have to do things that I don't want to do. And what does that do? It creates resistance within us. So when we have that resistance, and then we're trying to figure out the logistics of marketing, and we're trying to find our authentic voice, and we're trying to figure out who our ideal client is, and we're trying to figure out what our niche is, it just makes that all incredibly that much harder. So I want to give you permission right now that you don't have to work 5 days a week. You don't have to work 40 hours a week. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. So that in and of itself is going to be really difficult for a lot of people to let go of, because their identity is so wrapped around in that. But if you really start paying attention, and if you really devote yourself to your spiritual journey, it's unavoidable. It's inevitable that you're going to figure out the cycles of yourself, right? Especially if you're doing your shadow work. If you're doing your shadow work, then you're going to be able to figure out, okay, why do we even do shadow work? Well, we do shadow work because there's something that we have deemed a pattern, a thought process, a mindset that we have deemed in our life as intolerable, meaning that we don't want to put up with it anymore. It causes us pain. So why do we do shadow work? We do shadow work to address that pain and to address what the heck is, contributing to these negative feelings. If you're feeling like you're tired all the time, or that you're never well rested, that you get to your books, in the morning, and you look and see all the clients that you have, and you're like, oh gosh, this is going to be a long day, and I'm already feeling resistance towards that. I hate that I hate that anybody feels resistance to any part of their business, because it doesn't have to be like that, right? But there is a bridge of faith that you have to take, and some uncomfortable actions, some ways that thinking about things that maybe it's counterintuitive, but you just kind of have to take that on blind faith. And these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this podcast. What are some of those things? So we only have about 15 minutes left for today. So I want to give you guys some really good tips on how to figure out and how to start paying attention to your own energy levels and to figure out what your most optimized times for working and doing work related marketing type of things. Okay. So, first and foremost, if you feel like you have to work certain days in order to make certain money, like for example, maybe Fridays and Saturdays are usually the most busy service-based days in general, and those are the days that most people have, some time off, or Fridays people get paid, so they're looking to spend money, and then Saturdays people are off, so they're looking to get services done that they wouldn't be able to do during the normal week. And so maybe you're thinking, "Oh gosh, I have to work Saturdays," but maybe that's the only day that your partner has off, or maybe it's the only day that your kid doesn't have extracurricular activities, and you're like, "Gosh, I would rather be spending time with this person, or I would rather be spending my time doing this." I want to tell you that's possible. You can do that. But you could just have to make the decision that it's, you know, the gaining the things that you wish that you were participating in, the things that you think you're missing out, you feel you're missing out on. That has to become a more of a priority. So the very first thing I would tell you to do is to get out a piece of paper and write down numbers 1 through 10. And I would say, write down what your priorities in life are, right? And so, one of my favorite things to do is help people build businesses based on their priorities, based on their energetic levels, and building a business model. Building a business model that really reflects what you need to feel rested and what you need to feel so that you're not in this constant state of resistance and thinking like your business is like your enemy. Because if you think that way and your business is a source of pain for you, then it's going to be super difficult to get to where you want to be. It's going to be super difficult to attract the right clients. It's going to be difficult to keep raising your prices because you're going to be capped in that same cycle of work, 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 suffer, suffer, suffer. And then for some reason, we think that that's like a badge of honor, right? We think that that's what we're supposed to do. So write down your priorities. That's going to be first and foremost. And then you want to look at your priorities. So maybe your priorities are and they could be totally, it doesn't even, they could be totally selfish things. Maybe your priorities are your kids, or maybe your priorities are your parents, or maybe your priorities are your pets, or maybe your priority is your garden, or maybe your priority is sleeping in the morning, or maybe your priority is getting 10 hours of sleep every day, every 24 hours. Maybe your priority is being able to take a nap. Maybe your priority is being able to purchase your Starbucks in the morning. Okay. So no matter how big or how small, it doesn't have to be altruistic. Just identify what your priorities are, what you feel is going to make you feel content and able to show up in life. Okay. Like everybody has these things that they get this one thing that they can move forward with their day, right? So write down your priorities, get really clear on that. Don't be afraid of being selfish, and just think about what 10 things that you could accomplish in a day would make you feel like you had a really great day. Maybe it's doing your skincare routine. Maybe it's being able to, if you have chronic illness, maybe it's being able to do any type of self-care at all. Hygiene, that's a big one for people with chronic illness. It's very difficult to, maintain a very good hygiene routine and still be able to run your business, right? So how many spoons do you have? So the next thing from there is I want you to, over the course of the next, like, say, 30 days. And I really recommend doing a 30-day experiment with this because, especially if you are a feminine identifying person, you tend to, and even masculine identifying people, and even everybody in between, we all go through hormonal fluctuations every 30 days, right? If you are a feminine person, or if you are a uterus carrying person, or if you are a person that has a period, then you will know that you are a very different person 2 weeks out of the month and the other 2 weeks out of the month. Luckily, I don't deal with that anymore. Thank God. I'm medicated, so I don't deal with that. But one of the very first things I did to feel better was to get rid of my periods and get rid of that hormonal fluctuation. And I'm so glad that I was able to connect with a doctor who um, really understood that and appreciated that and was able to work with me. So sometimes if you need to, you might have to shop around for doctors and see what else is medically available to you as well. That may also be on your priority list, right? So, over the course of 30 days, what you want to do is you want to just kind of pay attention to your energy on a daily basis. So, you can just create like a simple logbook and just get a notebook and just date it and just write your overall energy levels, like energy levels 1 out of 10. Like, what you're going to bed at that night. What was your energy level like? Were you an 8 that day? Were you a 5 that day? Were you a 0 that day? Did you just stay in bed all day, because you didn't have the energy? So do that for 30 days and then go back and look at it. And you will find that our energy levels will kind of like wax and wane and they'll kind of go up. And some people are really more like a consistent. And then some people have big dips and like low. And so I've worked with people with all kinds of different schedule needs. Like I've worked with people who maybe they only work for the first 2 weeks when they're not on their cycle. I've known people who don't work when they're on their cycle. I've known people who take the last week off of every month. I know people who tend to work 3 days a week. That's me. They tend to work 3 days a week and that's it. Those same days, that same schedule for the last like 6 or 7 years I've worked now. So Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and I work typically from 12 to 3 p.m. So looking at your energy levels really, and also experimenting with different ways about categorizing your day, because most of the time, a lot of us are not going to respond like, okay, unless you have kids or you have, some kind of obligation where you have to be somewhere, right, at a certain time or something like that. A lot of us are not going to respond very well to having to be somewhere at a specific time. I know that's one of my pet peeves personally. I don't like being somewhere at a specific time. I like to just kind of roll into my day. And so, what was really important for me was to, instead of setting a schedule like, okay, I'm going to work from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., is to look at, okay, what are the what's the itemization of the tasks that I need to do, right? As opposed to looking at it as like, what time do I need to start my day, right? Do I start my day at the same time every single day? Absolutely not. I don't. And for me, I feel very like closed and boxed in when that happens, and I start getting resistance and I start rebelling. And then I start disappearing from my business. So I've noticed that myself, I don't really like to do things at specific times unless it's like once a week. So like in a podcast like this, sure, I'm happy to do that, because it's just once a week. I can handle that. I have the spoons for that. But looking at my day more like, okay, so how do I actually start my day? And how do I figure out what my magical routine is to get myself in a position where I'm feeling really good and I'm feeling the best and I'm feeling rested. And that's one of the most important things. I cannot stress enough the importance of getting enough sleep. You need to make sure you're getting at least, between 6 and 10 hours a day. Personally, I'm an 8 to 9 person, 8 to 9 hours a day kind of person. That's where I feel like I'm rested. I feel like I'm ready to take on the day. I don't feel crabby. I don't feel like I'm short with people. And I feel like I'm in a good mood. So I think it's far more important to focus on a ritual, some type of like, you know, th- process that you put yourself through on your work days that is going to get yourself in a good mood, regardless of what time it is, right? So for a lot of people, it's going to be easier to say, okay, I want to work Fridays, but maybe I don't know exactly what time I want to work Friday, but I just know I'm going to work Fridays. So Thursday night, I'm going to make a good effort to go to bed at a reasonable hour so that Friday is kind of a blank slate for me, right? And so what are some of the things that I do? What do I do to start my day? Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna do my skincare routine. Remember, I'm going back to my priority list. What is my priority list? It's kind of like you're almost making a trade-off, a deal with yourself. Like, okay, I will allow myself to indulge in these things that feel luxurious and elegant to me, but are really a part of my necessary self-care. What the trade-off is that I'm gonna have to work today. I'm gonna have to put some effort forth today. And so that's kind of how I talk the days that I don't really want to do anything. That's how I talk myself into doing. Because I know as soon as I take a shower, as soon as I do my skincare, as soon as I drink my coffee, as soon as I have a little bit of breakfast, as soon as I maybe pull my card of the day or do my runes of the day over here, I know that my energy is going to change, right? And so being able to transmute your energy is a sign that you are actually in control of your energy, right? And it's always really interesting when people come to me and they don't have control over this. It's going back to the basics of what is magic. It's your will, it's your intention, it's being able to transmute energy from one thing to another, something more desirable, right? So it's always interesting to me when I have people who want to be spiritual life coaches or magical mentors, and but they can't get their own morning sorted out. So that's one thing to kind of think about. Am I able to do the things that I'm telling my client that they need to be able to do? Am I modeling that? Am I a role model for that? So, what are some of the things? So I know my energy is going to change drastically, and I'm going to be in such a great mood. I might not be in a good mood in the morning, but I'm going to be in a good mood after I get all these priority things done for myself. And then I'm going to go to my computer or I'm going to go on my phone. I'm going to check for my orders. I'm going to check and see what orders came in, what sold over the weekend, follow up with people regarding that, especially if they need to like schedule an appointment or something like that. So if it's an Etsy order, then I will just quickly message them and say, "Hey, I will have your order out to you by Wednesday, or I'll have your order out to you by Friday," and just the communication thing. So what that does is it keeps me accountable. So what it does is says setting up my next couple days and saying I'm going to reach out to you on this date, and so I'm making myself accountable to that. Okay, so that's another trick that you can do is communicate more with your people and say, "Hey, I'm going to talk to you on Wednesday." Or, "Hey, I'm going to message you tomorrow about this," or something like that. And that'll keep you accountable. Then I'll go through my messages and I'll go through like anybody. Like this morning, I had one from someone who was interested in taking the Lux Lightworker program, and they wanted to know a little bit about that. So it was like a sales conversation, and so I'm just talking to that person, making sure I'm doing that, making sure that my orders and my everything that I need is set up for the day, that sort of thing. If I don't have anything on the schedule, but I know that it's a work day, then I'm going to come up with something. I'm going to come up with something and I'm going to do it for at least 20 minutes. So we have about 3 minutes left. I'm going to talk to you guys about segment intending. And that'll be the last thing that I leave off with you guys this week. And then next week, we're going to be talking about how to find your authentic voice. So I think that's going to be really exciting, and how to find your authentic voice, but also how to really start that communication process with your clients, and how to communicate and how to present yourself and things like that. So segment intending is the idea that no matter how you feel, you're going to dedicate at least 20 minutes to a task. Okay. So I tend to do segment intending, especially when I'm in a creative mode. So whether I'm creating graphics for my website, or I'm creating a new marketing ad campaign, or I'm creating a podcast like this, and I'm getting the graphics done and getting the bullet points and speaking points and things like that done, I'm going to commit to it for 20 minutes. And at the end of 20 minutes, if I don't want to do it anymore, I won't do it anymore. But most of the time, 90% of the 95% of the time, after 20 minutes, I'm so in the groove that I just want to keep going. And then I will allow myself to do that for up to 2 hours. And I think that one of the big things that we kind of gloss over and spiritually bypass is giving ourselves limits, because I know in the beginning we're so hyped up on like adrenaline and the excitement of it all, and we tend to work 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 work, and then we'll work for like 3 months, and then then people disappear for like 6 months. It's because they burn out. So understanding that there is a level of discipline that goes along with this, but figuring it out how, what does your energy look like? What are your energetic demands? What days of the month are really good for you to work? What kind of schedule? I want you to really rethink your schedule today. If you do nothing else this week, rethink your schedule. Look at your schedule, re-examine it. Does it make you happy? Does it bring you joy? If it doesn't, know that you can do whatever you want. You are the boss. And that's what I always say. You're the CEO. You make all the decisions, If you don't want to work a certain day, don't work a certain day. If you don't want to work at a certain time, don't do it. You don't want to work 5 days a week, don't do it. Raise your prices and then figure out, the rest of the schedule from there. Okay. So does anybody have any questions while we are here? Yeah. My challenge is time management and burnout. And, a lot of people have that issue. Truly, 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 they do. And that is absolutely a self discipline thing on your end that you're going to have to address within yourself. You're going to have to give yourself um, permission to stop working. And that's, in fact, that may be just as important as permission to start working is permission to stop working. It's not that people typically have issues with working, they have issues of working too much, right? And that's where we start getting sick. That's where we start getting resentful. That's where we start becoming bitter, jaded. That's where we start repelling people, clients, opportunities because we're too tired. We're too tired, too sick to deal with it, you know? Yeah, getting burnout trying to fit in with Muggle standards, and it's really a Puritan ethics. It's really, and it's to service the people at the top, to serve the people at the top. It's not to make people like us, have a good life or to be happy or to be content or feel like, we have enough time and things like that. It's to make sure that those people at the top get their 401ks, their pensions, their $1 million bonuses, and you have to realize that you can put all that effort into something like this, but it doesn't require that much effort. And I think that's one of the most liberating things that people come to find out. Yeah, my bedtime is I'm in my bed at 8 and my lights are out at 10. Maybe that doesn't work for you, but find your consistency there. Yeah, wake up at 5 a.m., do your meditations, your mantras, get yourself together. That's magic, right? That is the magical part of your business. Oh, really? Yeah, I understand that. Do you prefer YouTube over social media for sales? It all works together. It all works together. My main platforms, um, thanks, Paula. I appreciate that. It all goes to the same place, right? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's all the same thing. It's all just a different channel of a platform. It's all the same thing. But where is it all leading to? Right? So you can get sales in your newsletter, you can get sales from social media posts, you can get sales from your YouTube videos, you can get sales from your Instagram videos. What I try to do is I try to make my time count for something. I try to figure out ways to create one piece of content that I can put out to all of those different platforms with some minor, minor, minor tweaks without trying to keep up with Instagram and without trying to keep up with YouTube. I don't try to keep up with trends or I don't try to keep up with like entertaining people. I am using those platforms as real estate in order to get people into my academy. And that means that whether I'm posting a YouTube video, whether I'm filming a podcast like today, whether I'm posting a sale post on social media, whether I'm posting a shop update on Etsy, whatever, it all comes back to what is that call to action? What is that request for engagement? Where is it all leading? Because we want to look at social media platforms. Social media, YouTube is social media, right? It's all social media. So we kind of want to look at how can I put out content that's going to lead people to want to purchase with me, right? How am I building up credibility? How am I creating a path for the buyer's journey for people to find me? And how am I doing that consistently and with the least amount of effort, with the maximum amount of value for the people watching the content and for myself as the creator of the content. So I hope that that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Oh gosh, yes. So, make sure you're getting your health tested. Make sure you're getting male or female. Make sure you're getting your hormones tested. Make sure you're getting your thyroid tested. Every about 7 years or so, every about 8 years, you want to do this because your body's changing, right? And so when you know this about yourself and you know that you have, say, a low thyroid, or you know that your hormones are a little bit out of whack or something like that, it's easier to fix it because a lot of us deal with inconsistencies with our energy, and a lot of it is medical based, medical. And then, another way, one more way that you can do it, and then I gotta really go because I'm already 5 minutes over. But paying attention to the lunar phases. So, that's why I created Moon Marketing Magic, because Moon Marketing Magic is a program that helps you tailor your marketing and your business actions by the phases of the moon, which is one of the most universal ways that you can actually manage your energy. And it's one of the most primal, natural ways that you can manage your energy. So following the moon's phases and following that action, while the moon is building and waxing, you do a lot more. When it's waning and becoming smaller, becoming darker, going towards the new moon, right? The dark moon, then there are less strenuous type of things that you can do. So if you are interested in that, Moon Marketing Magic is available. And I think that's probably one of the easiest ways to get into a marketing schedule that is really laid back, but also ticks all the boxes for everything that you want to do on a monthly basis. Meaning, if you want to do live stream, or if you want to teach a workshop, or if you want to send out newsletters and stuff like that, that's Moon Marketing Magic has that all compartmentalized so that you can follow that schedule on a 29-day cycle. And so, it's just a way to kind of learn how to manage your time and energy and be a little bit more efficient with it. Okay. So, I'm so glad you guys were here to be with me on this first podcast episode. I will see you guys next Monday. I want you guys to get out there and just have a good time. I think if you can focus on having a good time, how can I have fun in my business? And then maybe if that's like your first question that you ask yourself every day that you're going to work, maybe try that and get back to me. Let me know how that goes for you. And let us know what you feel about the podcast. If you like these topics, if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, let me know. Just drop them in the comment box and I will write them all down on my sticky pad of ideas to talk about. We're going to do 6 episodes for this year, for 2023. And then we're going to pause because then we'll be in Christmas and things like that. And then we'll pick back up in January. Okay. So thank you guys for being here. It was amazing to connect with you this Monday. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next Monday.